Let's start with the deadly and get increasingly more world-ending Mount Pelée. Explosive power, equivalent of 10 million sticks of dynamite. 122 years ago, in 1902, the Caribbean city of Saint-Pierre vanished in under a minute. Mount Pelée erupted almost without warning, but it wasn't lava that killed. A wave of superheated gas, ash, and rock blasting down at 400 miles per hour. The temperature? Over 1,000 degrees Celsius. Hot enough to vaporize skin, crush lungs, and ignite the air. Nearly 30,000 people died instantly. Buildings were incinerated, streets buried in boiling ash. Some victims were found frozen mid-action, their bodies carbonized where they stood. Only 2 people survived. One of them, Lugger Silbaris, was locked in a tiny stone jail cell with no windows. The thick volcanic rock saved his life. Mount Pinatubo. Explosive power, equivalent of 100 million sticks of dynamite. Just 34 years ago, in 1991, the Philippines was rocked by one of the most powerful eruptions in modern history. Mount Pinatubo had slept for centuries. Then it exploded, blasting 20 million tons of ash into the atmosphere. The eruption dropped global temperatures by half a degree and released more sulfur dioxide than any event since Krakatoa. Towns were buried. Planes fell from the sky. The ash cloud circled Earth twice. 800 people died, 200,000 were displaced, and entire villages vanished. But it could have been far worse. Scientists detected signs early, and Clark Air Base, one of the largest U.S. military bases, was evacuated just in time. The eruption was 10 times more powerful than the atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima. Mount Pinatubo didn't just erupt, it briefly tilted Earth's climate. Hunga, Tonga, Hunga, Ha Pai. Explosive power, equivalent of 1 billion sticks of dynamite. Just 2 years ago, in 2022, a remote volcano in Tonga unleashed the most powerful eruption in over a century. The blast was so intense it shattered the ocean, sending a giant mushroom cloud 35 miles into the sky. It triggered a global shockwave that circled the planet 4 times, reaching space and disrupting satellites. Tsunamis hit coastlines as far as Japan, Peru, and California. The explosion was hundreds of times more powerful than the Hiroshima bomb and louder than any event since Krakatoa. In space, NASA satellites captured the ash plume punching through the stratosphere. Communications across Tonga were wiped out instantly. And yet, this was not even a supervolcano yet. A Tepe eruption. Explosive power, equivalent of 10 billion sticks of dynamite. 1,793 years ago, around 232 CE, the center of New Zealand exploded. The Hate eruption, also known as the Taupo eruption, was one of the most violent volcanic events in the last 5,000 years. It launched 100 cubic kilometers of ash and rock into the air, turning day to night across the southern hemisphere. Ancient Chinese records described a blood-red sky. Tree rings across the world show signs of climate disruption. The eruption created a plume 30 miles high, visible from space if it had happened today. Lake Taupo is now the giant water-filled crater left behind. So massive, most don't even realize it's a supervolcano. The explosion devastated the region, caused tsunamis on the lake, and restructured the land itself. Krakatoa. Explosive power, equivalent of 100 billion sticks of dynamite. 141 years ago, in 1883, the island of Krakatoa tore itself apart. The explosion was heard over 3,000 miles away, the loudest sound ever recorded in human history. It generated tsunamis over 120 feet high, wiping out more than 36,000 people in minutes. Barometers worldwide spiked. Ash rose 50 miles into the sky and dimmed sunlight around the globe. The sky turned strange colors. Sunsets turned blood red. The global temperature dropped by over a degree. The pressure wave from the blast circled Earth 7 times. Most of the island simply ceased to exist. In its place, a boiling caldera, and eventually Anak Krakatau, the child of Krakatoa, which is still active today. Krakatoa didn't just erupt, it detonated like a planet-sized bomb, a reminder that the Earth can scream. Mount Tambora. Explosive power, equivalent of 1 trillion sticks of dynamite. 210 years ago, in 1815, the Indonesian volcano Mount Tambora exploded with such force it erased an entire culture. The eruption blasted over 150 cubic kilometers of material into the sky, the most powerful eruption in recorded human history. The sound was heard over 1,200 miles away. More than 70,000 people died, most from starvation and disease. Ash circled the globe, blocking sunlight and triggering what became known as the year without a summer. Crops failed in Europe, North America, and Asia. Snow fell in June. Famine swept continents. Even the Frankenstein novel was born from this darkness, written during a sunless summer in Switzerland. Tambora didn't just kill locally, it shut down global weather. Thera, Santorini. Explosive power, equivalent of 10 trillion sticks of dynamite. Around 3,600 years ago, a volcanic island in the Aegean Sea exploded so violently it may have helped wipe out an entire civilization. The eruption of Thera shattered the island now known as Santorini, triggering a massive tsunami that slammed into Crete, heart of the Minoan Empire. Entire coastal cities vanished. Ash darkened the sky across the Mediterranean. Ancient Egyptian records speak of a strange strange black rain. Some historians believe this is the origin of the Atlantis myth, an advanced island world destroyed in a single day. Campi Flegrei. Explosive power, equivalent of 100 trillion sticks of dynamite. Around 39,000 years ago, just outside what is now Naples, Italy, the Earth cracked open. The Campi Flegrei supervolcano erupted, spewing ash across all of Europe. Some scientists believe it triggered a volcanic winter that pushed Neanderthals toward extinction. It left behind a massive 12-kilometer-wide caldera, still home to hundreds of thousands of people today. Unlike Vesuvius, Campi Flegrei doesn't rise above the landscape. It is the landscape. The ground there breathes, lifts and falls by inches every year. In recent years, activity has increased. Gas emissions, earthquakes, rising magma. Experts now classify it as one of the most dangerous volcanoes on Earth. Campi Flegrei didn't just erupt once. It's still alive. Yellowstone, explosive power, equivalent of 1 quadrillion sticks of dynamite. 640,000 years ago, in what is now Wyoming, the Yellowstone supervolcano erupted with enough force to bury North America. It launched over 1,000 cubic kilometers of rock and ash into the sky, enough to cover the entire U.S. in a thick layer of fallout. Ash reached as far as the Gulf of Mexico. Today, scientists monitor Yellowstone constantly. The ground rises and falls. Geysers shift, pressure builds. A future eruption would reset ecosystems. And the scariest part? It's overdue. La Garita caldera. Explosive power, equivalent of 10 quadrillion sticks of dynamite. 27.8 million years ago, in what is now Colorado, Earth produced a blast so massive it's hard to comprehend. The La Garita caldera erupted with unimaginable force, ejecting 5,000 times more material than Mount St. Helens. It created the Fish Canyon Tuff, one of the largest volcanic deposits ever found. The eruption blasted out 5,000 cubic kilometers of magma, reshaping entire mountain ranges. If it happened today, it would wipe out entire nations. Toba supereruption. Explosive power, equivalent of 100 quadrillion sticks of dynamite. 74,000 years ago, the supervolcano now known as Lake Toba in Indonesia erupted with world-ending force. It blasted 2,800 cubic kilometers of rock into the sky, covering South Asia in ash and choking the atmosphere for years. Global temperatures dropped up to 5 degrees Celsius, sunlight dimmed, plants died, ecosystems collapsed. Some scientists believe Toba triggered a volcanic winter that reduced the human population to just a few thousand. Genetic bottlenecks in our DNA may trace back to this very event. If it happened again, we might not survive it. The closest Earth has ever come to starting over. Siberian traps. Explosive power, equivalent of 1 quintillion sticks of dynamite. 252 million years ago, in what is now Russia, the Earth didn't explode once. It bled fire for 1,000,000 years. The Siberian traps weren't a single eruption. They were a series of massive volcanic events, covering millions of square kilometers in lava. The atmosphere filled with carbon dioxide, methane, and sulfur. Temperatures soared. Oceans acidified. 95% of all life on Earth gone. Known as the Great Dying, this was the deadliest extinction event in history. The Earth survived. Barely. If this video clicked, hit subscribe.